There's been huge news that in Chapter 4, Season 5, Fortnite is removing sprinting, Fortnite is removing mantling, Fortnite will have all Chapter 1 weapons and equipment, and Fortnite is removing zero build. Now, let me explain why I don't think any of that is true, okay? First off, we've been hearing a lot of news, a lot of leaks, rumors about all this stuff, right? Chapter 4, Season 5 is going to basically go back to the OG Fortnite, the very original Fortnite. Everything's basically going to be original Fortnite. There's going to be no zero build, there's no sprinting, there's no mantling, all these mechanics are gone, right? Well, think about it. How did it feel when I told you that? Worrying? Yeah, a little worrying. I know when I heard that, I'm like, what? No way. And then I kind of poke around, I watch some videos, and I'm like, oh, no one's actually saying that this is actually legit information. So let's use some logic here and explain to you why I don't think any of this stuff is true and what I think that Chapter 4, Season 5 is actually going to look like. So people are saying we're going back to OG Fortnite, Chapter 1. It's just going to be like Chapter 1, and then we'll kind of, progress through those seasons all the way up to Season X or whatever. Well, first of all, I don't think that they're going to remove any of the current mechanics because they'd be shooting themselves in the foot big time right here, okay? This is a great play by Epic, first of all, like going back to Chapter 1, because there's a lot of nostalgia there for older players that have stopped playing the game recently, right? And they went to other games. Well, this is their chance to get them back in the game, especially with zero build, right? Because builds is very hard to learn. You have to spend at least like 50 to 100 hours learning how to build efficiently and effectively to be competitive at all, even like mid-tier competitive, right? If you want to be really good, you're looking at 1,000 hours to learn how to build and edit like a pro, right? So you can't even compete in that space of building. So I don't think we're going back to just builds, first of all, right? That would be a horrible decision on Epic's part because they have this chance to bring back all these old players who didn't really build in the first place, and now they're going to shove them into the game and make them learn how to build? No, that's not happening. Do you think these players that are coming from Apex Legends or Call of Duty or like all these other games that have like, good movement, good modern movement, Call of Duty that has very fast-paced gameplay, do you think they're going to go back and bring us back to Chapter 1 where you're jogging around the map and just like and using guns that have no accuracy at all and everything's kind of like, plain Jane? No, that would be a horrible decision. And if they do, then hey, bold move, right? I don't think it's going to play out for you, because what I think they're really trying to do here is reboot Fortnite, right? Like get the OGs, get all these other players interested because they're, nostalgia, right? Nostalgia is a powerful thing. Get them in the game and then make them realize how fun Fortnite is, especially Fortnite Zero Build, because that's accessible to these players, right? Oh, wow, there's mantling and sprinting and sliding and like all these cool mechanics in Fortnite that I didn't know. All these cool mechanics that other games don't have. All these different cool, unique utility items, right? This is stuff that sets Fortnite apart from other games, and really it's a highlight, right? So you want to show that to new players or new returning players, right? Bring them in the game, make them realize, dang, I've been missing out on Fortnite. This is actually a fantastic game. You don't want to put them back in Snoozeville nostalgia, right? It was a good game at the time, but modern gaming has progressed. There's a reason that games get faster and have more mechanics, because gamers these days kind of need that, right? They need that advanced gameplay. They need different tactics and strategies. It makes the game more interesting. It makes it more creative. It makes your gameplay more expressive. It's just more fun, right? So I don't think they're going to go back to all that, right? Pause the video. If you're liking this, please leave a thumbs up on it. And also leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about Chapter 4, Season 5 of Fortnite. I want to hear your feedback on what I've got on this video. I also want to hear your ideas of what might happen. I think that's really interesting. I'd love to have a conversation. All right, let's get back to the video. So with guns and equipment, right? If we go back to Chapter 1, think about those weapons, right? They brought back the Scar, which was like the best AR in Chapter 1, apparently. I didn't actually play Chapter 1 that much, but everyone used the Scar and they loved it and they thought it was the greatest. That's nostalgia for you, right? When they heard the Scar was coming back just a few seasons ago, I don't know, it was Chapter 4, Season 1, I think, or something. Whatever it was, people were really excited. The Scar came into the game. It had just as bad bloom as it ever did. People used it and then they never used it again if it was an option, right? It was a bad gun. It didn't feel good, right? And that right there is an important note. It didn't feel good. Modern shooters these days, when you aim at something, you have a little bit of bloom, but you can control that bloom and you're hitting shots and there's fast-paced movement and you can kind of strafe and all that. That's fun. And a lot of people love that. When you give someone a gun and it's spraying everywhere and shooting all over and just not hitting what you're aiming at, that's not very fun, nor is it very realistic. And it does not feel good when you compare that to other games that have pinpoint precision, you know, as long as you're controlling recoil and bloom. That's kind of fun. There's some mastery there. But if your gun's just completely random or you have to tap fire every like half second or whatever, it's just not very fun. So I don't think they're going to go back to such a legacy version of weaponry and equipment, because again, I think they really have to show the full strengths and features of Fortnite, which is all the cool stuff that we have today, all these great pieces of equipment, all these really fun weapons to use. Maybe they'll reduce the accuracy a little bit. I mean, it's gotten a little bit powerful, a little out of control. The Twin Mag this season is absolutely nuts. It's the strongest AR that Fortnite's ever had by miles. Everyone thought the Red Eye was crazy, but the Twin Mag is even crazier. It hits harder than the Red Eye did, and it shoots faster. It's like an MK assault rifle, and a Red Eye had a baby. The Twin Mag's crazy, maybe a little too crazy. So if they roll back to older guns, you know, something like the Hammer assault rifle, I think is a nice little balance point. You know, that gun took some skill. It was a little hard to use. You had to pace your shots. That was nice. You felt like there was some skill using that weapon. It wasn't just like your bullets are spraying all over the place, how you feel sometimes when you use that Scar a couple seasons ago. So that's my general feeling on the weaponry and equipment. I don't think they're going to do a full rollback. I think they've got to show new players like all this cool stuff that Fortnite has to offer, right? It just makes sense from a business standpoint. You bring a huge influx of old players back into the game. You don't want to show them the same old game that they left from. You want to show them a new game, something that feels different than what they've been playing, something that's like, oh wow, I had no idea this existed, right? So I think Epic's pretty darn smart. A lot of people roast Epic. They're like, oh, they don't listen to their player base, but I think Epic Games really listens to their player base. Have you played any other games that are constantly surveying you on like, oh, how do you feel about the balance of this weapon? Fortnite does that all the time. You'll get after game surveys about the balance of, you know, skill-based matchmaking or this particular item. Is it too strong? They do a really good job of collecting data from their players, and I think they really are listening. I feel like the reason that Fortnite is still around, still kicking, going strong after 5 years is because they're always innovating and listening to their player base, right? They innovate, they do some crazy stuff, they throw it out there, and then they get feedback and they go, oh, okay, that's a little too crazy, let's tweak it a little bit, and they change quickly, and then they just keep things fresh, right? So I believe that really is a strength of Epic Games, and Epic knows what the players like. They know that if they went back to Chapter 1, just plain old Chapter 1, people probably wouldn't like it, right? People love where Fortnite's at. That's why they continue to play it. It just keeps getting better. So why would we roll back to, you know, stage 1 when the game first launched, right? It just does not make sense from a logical or business perspective, okay? Now that brings me to talk about the Fortnite map, right? People are saying that we're gonna go back to the OG Chapter 1 map. I don't think that's gonna happen either. I have a feeling that it's not gonna happen. I could be wrong, but if we go back to the OG Chapter 1 map, right, there's probably a lot of stuff that had to change on that map to work for current, you know, weaponry, equipment, and movement, that sort of thing. And, you know, they're also working with very old models that have, you know, if you've been into creative, right, and you've pulled out old models from Chapter 1, they do not look good. They're really ugly, right? So they would need a lot of work to update that stuff. So that leads me to believe that they're probably doing a full revamp on these models, a full revamp on the textures and everything. So they might as well just use what we have right now, the Chapter 4 island, because it is still Chapter 4, right? Every chapter we get a new island, but the island doesn't really change in between chapters. So I think we're going to keep the same island. And I'm thinking that like events are going to happen throughout the season that are basically new POIs dropping in, just like we kind of saw with the Fracture event to start off Chapter 4, right? Where like all these different pieces of the map got pulled in and then like sent out, and the map was kind of rebuilt from these pieces, right? So I think we're going to see something similar with the Chapter 4 map, where we get old POIs dropping in and kind of just replacing what we currently have, kind of similar terrain probably, but you're going to see like just kind of new POIs in these old places. So Mega City might be replaced by like Tilted Towers or something like that. That's my general idea. I think that they probably don't want to rebuild all the terrain and make it all work. I think it's probably better, more efficient, maybe easier for them to basically delete all the buildings that they have on the map and then kind of start with new buildings that are from old POIs and that sort of thing. I could be wrong there, but I do feel like they're probably not going to return to purely Chapter 1 aesthetics, right? Because Chapter 1 aesthetics, everyone has nostalgia about it. Oh, it had such a cool art style. Yeah, it did have a really cool art style, but when you go inside those buildings, they're pretty ugly, man. Like, I've worked in creative again, building maps myself, and when you bring in those old assets, it's like, ugh, this is an ugly asset. I gotta change the textures on this wall and all that, right? So I don't know if they want to give that exact feeling. We'll see though, right? We'll see. Chapter 4, Season 5 is going to be a very interesting Fortnite season, to say the least, right? No matter what, like, it's going to be very different, and that's pretty exciting. And I have a good feeling about it. I think that Epic is going to do this right because they know how important this is, right? Fortnite has kind of been on a decline lately. You know, I think that the player base is slowly declining. There's a little less interest. Things aren't changing as much as they used to. You know, in Chapter 3, we saw like changes every week. Now we see changes, you know, every few weeks, and it's very minor things. It's a new augment, a new item that's not really that great or whatever. I think that they're really going to shake things up, and they're trying to bring a lot of people back to the game, and they really got to impress them. So I have high hopes for this. You know, they're bringing back all these OG players, all these old players that haven't played the game forever. They really got to impress us, and they got to knock this out of the park so that it sets up like a really good tone for Chapter 5, right? Because if they can get all these new players and convert them to Fortnite players and then bring them into Chapter 5, that is a huge W for Epic Games, right? I think Epic has kind of been in a little bit of a slump, right? People are calling them lazy or whatever. I think that Epic has just innovated so much that it's hard for them to innovate anymore. So sometimes they gotta take a step back, you know, and kind of tweak the old, right? And I think this is a really good chance for them to do that. And I think it's going to be a very, very cool season. I have high hopes for it. But mark my words, if they remove zero build, if they remove sprinting, if they remove mantling, if they remove all of my fun mobility items, I don't know if I'm going to play the game, guys. I just don't know if I can do it. That sounds awful, okay? You know, I can play a little Halo 1 for nostalgia, but it's not what I want to play. I'd rather play Halo Infinite, okay? That's the truth. I think everyone understands that. A month of doing that might just kill the game, for me, at least. And I'm sure a lot of you guys feel the same. So overall, I don't think it's gonna happen. We'll see though. All right, guys, so that was my rant. I appreciate you guys listening to it. I'd love to hear your opinion on this. Maybe you think I'm totally off base. Maybe you agree with some things not so much. I'd love to hear it either way. You know, I think it's a very interesting conversation to have. You know, it's just fun to talk about these things. And you know, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I'll own up to that for sure. Maybe they'll surprise me. Maybe they will return to Chapter 1, and I'll like it. Who knows? Maybe they'll pull it off, and I'll enjoy it. We'll see. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have yourself a great day. Shinobi out.